Welcome back to the channel. We got something new and different for you rather than some more divisional breakdown videos. We're going to do the top 10 quarterbacks, the top 10 running backs, the top 10 wide receivers, the top 10 tight ends, and we're also going to finish it off with the top 5 most to prove players going into the season. So we're going to jump right into the quarterbacks. We're going to start off at number 10, Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff is one of the more underrated and underappreciated quarterbacks in the league. He's proven that he can be an accurate quarterback, put points up on the board, and not turn the ball over. So I'm interested to see how the Lions do this year. I feel like they're starting to build some talent around Jared Goff in hopes that he can lead them to a playoff and maybe a possible playoff win this year. I think Jared Goff can actually do it this year. He's one of my favorite low-ranked quarterbacks. Just his consistency is fun to watch, and when he's on, he's going to put up points on the board. So let's look at some stats for Jared Goff from last year. He went 9-8 under center, missed the playoffs. Completion percentage is at a pretty high 68%. Threw for a 4,438 yards, 29 passing touchdowns, and a low turnover rate of 7 interceptions. So Jared Goff last year, like I said, consistent, accurate, is able to move the ball and put points on the board, and he doesn't turn the ball over that frequently. So that's why Jared Goff is at 10. Number 9, one of the most to prove quarterbacks and people with the most pressure moving forward, Dak Prescott. Arguably might be on the hot seat for the Cowboys moving forward if he can't turn it around. I think Dak is really good quarterback. He just has some questionable decision making, which has got him on the hot seat. Too many turnovers, way too many turnovers. But if he can keep those turnover numbers down, be accurate and consistent, I mean, the Cowboys should be able to win playoff games. I mean, they have the team to win playoff games. He's got to put it together. I mean, back-to-back bad playoff appearances for him. So let's look at some stats for Dak. Dak only played 12 games. He went 8-4 in those 12 games. Got hurt in the beginning of the year. He had 66.2% completion, 2,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, and this is the big number everyone cares about and everyone's talking about. Anything else aside, I mean, I think he could have thrown for 30 touchdowns and they'd still be talking about the 15 interceptions in 12 games. I mean, it is alarming, but I think he'll be fine. Just a bad year. He came back off injury, and he tried to do too much, and instead of letting the game come to him, he tried to do way too much, and you could show by his interception numbers. So Dak at 9. Number 8, people might disagree, think he's too high, too low, whatever. I mean, it's kind of hard not to put him in the top 10 quarterbacks. It's Aaron Rodgers. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is MVP form again. I don't think people might think he's the GOAT, which would be irrational, but I don't think he's got MVP numbers again. So we'll see what Aaron Rodgers can do with the New York Jets. I think they have great pieces around him for him to succeed and for the team to succeed. Possible Super Bowl hopes, but it's Aaron Rodgers at 8, and we're going to look at some stats from last year. He went 8-9, missed the playoffs, 64% completion. For Aaron Rodgers, this seems low. 3,600, basically 3,700 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. I mean, not a very standout year for him. He kind of struggled. I know they say that he played through injury, but he didn't perform very well when he needed to for the Packers. But Aaron Rodgers is kind of hard not to put him in the top 10 because of who he is and who he was. So Aaron Rodgers at 8. Now on to number 7, we got Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is due for a very good breakout season this year. I mean, they got Calvin Ridley for legitimately nothing. Added on to Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Travis Etienne, Evan Ingram, who had a breakout year last year. I mean, they're putting the right pieces around Trevor Lawrence for him to succeed. I think he's going to have a breakout year. I think probably 10 wins this year. A lot of touchdowns, high yards this year. I have high praise for Trevor Lawrence. I think he's a really good quarterback and has the chance to jump up on this list for next year. But let's look at the stats for Trevor Lawrence last year. Went 9-8, made the playoffs, won the division, the AFC South division, 66% completion, a little over 4,000 yards passing, 25 touchdowns, and for his being his second year in the league, 8 interceptions. I think that's pretty good. Not turn the ball over for a young quarterback with some pressure. I mean, they were making runs. They were looking at the playoffs. I mean, he could easily folded last year, but he did great under pressure. Did not look good necessarily in that first playoff game he's been in, but I mean, he was able to win, pull it around, turn it around, and pull off a win. I have high hopes for the Jaguars. Sadly, being a Colts fan, I think they're going to win the division, and he's going to have a very good year this year. So, Trevor Lawrence at 7. Now on to 6. The newly highest paid quarterback, Justin Herbert. Love Justin Herbert. Loved him coming out of college. I think he has the utmost ability to be in the top 5. The only thing I want to see from Justin Herbert moving forward is he finally got into the playoffs, or he got into the playoffs last year. Close down a game. Win a playoff game. I mean, you're just now the highest paid quarterback in the league on a yearly basis. You got to go out there and win playoff games. You got to go out there, prove that you deserve those numbers, and go win. Because you can't throw that game away against Jacksonville last year. But his talent level is insane. His arm talent, insane. He's got the right pieces around him. He just needs to go out there and do it. I know he's in a hard division playing Mahomes twice a year, but he's got to find a way. So his stats from last year, 10-7 record under center. Pretty good. Made the playoffs, obviously. Completion percentage at a high 68%. Just close to 5,000 yards passing, 25 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. All around, you look at these stats, great stats. Great individual regular season stats. I'd like to see the passing touchdowns a little higher for his caliber of player, but, I mean, Chargers are going to make the playoffs again. He's going to put up numbers like this or even better numbers than this. Now, all they need to see is him win a playoff game and see if they can't make a run for this year's playoffs. So, Justin Herbert at 6. Moving on to number 5, Lamar Jackson. One of the most versatile and scary quarterbacks in the league. I mean, the ability to do it on the ground and through the air. More ground than air, I would say. I don't really trust him necessarily as a passing quarterback, but when you have the ability to make runs like that, I mean, defense has to respect you, so it's going to be easier for him to make passes down the field. And they finally added some wide receiver help for him, so I'm very, very interested to see how Lamar Jackson does this year. I think he's due for a great year. They might win the division. They're going to put up a tough battle with the Bengals, so we'll see what Lamar Jackson has in store for us this year. See his stats from last year. He also got hurt, but his injury came later in the season. 8-4 record under center, 62% completion, a little lower than I'd like to see it. Passing yards low. I mean, for 12 games, 2,200 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. All around, for 12 games, I think I'd take that. I mean, this isn't considering his rushing yards or his rushing touchdowns on his stat sheet, but Lamar Jackson, I think he's going to be one of the top quarterbacks this year statistically, with hopefully the weapons turn out with Zay Flowers, OBJ. Of course, he has Mark Andrews and J.K. Dobbins. So, he also has Rashad Bateman too. So, interested to see how well he does this year. I have high hopes for him moving forward. All right, now to number 4, we got Josh Allen. I think people might be like, why is he not 3? I like another quarterback at 3 more than him. Not been very impressed with his postseason career thus far through his career. I'd like to see him, just like I was talking about Dak Prescott. I mean, they're not the same caliber of quarterback, of course, but he's got to go do something in the playoffs. I mean, you win, 13 games, 14 games last season? You go in the playoffs and you lay an egg like that? I mean, and it was mostly due to his part, too. I mean, he's got to go stop putting up these numbers in the regular season and pulling a Peyton Manning and go choking in the playoffs. Go out and win a playoff game. If you can't see the common trend here, most of these quarterbacks have not won many playoff games, but they're insanely talented individuals. But he's one of the players I need to see in the postseason go win games and put up the same numbers he would do in a regular season game. So let's look at some stats for Josh Allen last year. Like I said, 13 wins, 13-3 record, obviously made the playoffs. 63% completions, a little skewed for how many times he throws the football. So 4,200 yards, 35 touchdowns. Probably, I think that's the biggest number of touchdowns we've seen thus far through the top 10. So, and 14 interceptions. Also, again, probably a little skewed based off the amount of times he throws the football. I mean, they're not known as a running team. They're more known as a passing team. So, like I said, great individual regular season stats. But he's got to do something in the playoffs. He's got something to prove this year. Kind of reminding me of Peyton Manning, putting up these kind of stats in the regular season and has not that many playoff wins or Super Bowls to show for his regular season greatness. So, yep, Josh Allen, next quarterback on the list. My guy, my favorite quarterback in the league. It's not biased, I promise. Jalen Hurts at 3. I love every aspect of this kid's game. Ability to run the ball, check. Ability to throw the ball, check. Ability to throw the ball accurately deep, check. Coachable, check. Grit, check. I mean, he's got everything. All the tools possible. He's strong, check. I mean, anything you can think of, he checks the box. And, I mean, he proved it last year. Came out and just ran through the NFL, ran all the way to the playoffs, and they arguably should have won the Super Bowl, but of course, going up against Patrick Mahomes, one of my favorite Super Bowls to watch was last year. So, Jalen Hurts, high expectations, easily the best NFC quarterback out there in that conference. He's, like I said, my favorite quarterback. I'm very excited to watch him play, and I'm also hoping I get him on my fantasy team. He is a fantasy legend. So, Jalen Hurts at 3. Let's see some stats from last season. I mean, 14-1 record. I mean, he was not doing that the year prior to the last year. 14-1 record, 66% completion. The accuracy's there. 3,700 yards, 22 touchdowns, and doesn't turn the ball over. 6 turnovers through the air. And this also, just like Lamar, is not showing his rushing ability stats. I mean, he put up great stats running the ball. He's known as a very dual threat quarterback. He's not as good as Lamar running the football, but his stature and his size and his strength allow him to run the ball pretty effectively, especially near the goal line. So, Jalen Hurts, number 3. Next quarterback, number 2, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, I mean, he's arguably... Yeah, I can't say he's arguably. He is the second best quarterback in the league. I mean, he's cool to watch. I mean, he's cool. I mean, everything he does has swagger. I mean, that clip from last year against Buffalo where he'd made that pass in pregame. I mean, he's got swag. That's what he is. He is a swaggy quarterback. He had 12-4 record last year. Started off slow in the beginning of the year last year. Kind of was a little alarming that this team was like a fluke or something. But they were able to pull it around. A very high 68% completion, 4,400 yards, almost 4,500 yards, 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. You're going to see the trend between these top four quarterbacks. They check every box. Completion percentage, high, check. Passing yards, check. Ability to just put up points through the air, check. And low interceptions, check. I mean, these guys can do it all. It's fun to watch them play. It kind of stinks that they're all in the AFC, the top 4 quarterbacks, and then Jalen Hurts in the NFC. But, I mean, the AFC is a gauntlet, and it's ran by him, Joe Burrow, and Mahomes. So, yep, that's number 2, Joe Burrow. Number 1, obviously, Patrick Mahomes. Now, Patrick Mahomes, I might be able to debate. If he wins the Super Bowl this year, I might do it. I might throw him in the GOAT conversation. I mean, he does it all. He does anything remarkable now. Is a sidearm throw, I'm not even fazed by it anymore. I mean, I just expect it from him. The dude's insane. I mean, he does something that all these quarterbacks haven't really done recently. He does it in the regular season, and then he just goes and does it in the postseason. And then he's got, 2 Super Bowls in 4 years already. Insane stats. I mean, he can do it all. There's no arguing. He is the best quarterback in the league, and he will be the best quarterback of all time. As long as he stays healthy, he'll be the best quarterback of all time. Let's look at some stats. 14-3 record. People were kind of second-guessing their ability when they lost Tyreek Hill. He went out there and just silenced everybody. 14-3 record, 67% completion, 5,200 yards, 41 passing touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. I mean, this guy just does it all. And that's my top 10 quarterback list. Don't be afraid to drop some comments in the comment section below. Give me some feedback, some suggestions, what I could do differently to keep improving. So until next time.